Welcome, Wendy. Thank you so much for making time, especially right now with so much uncertainty. But there are only two certainties in life: death and taxes. You are here to help us plan for tax filing this year. Tell us a little about you and take it away.
Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this Taxpayer Advocate Service campaign. We have this campaign every year because we want to make sure that, people wait so long sometimes for the refund, and we wanted to try to avoid them having any pitfalls, any issues, and get their money that they're expecting as quickly as possible. So my name is Wendy Figueroa, and I am the local taxpayer advocate for the state of Delaware. And let me just try to share here my presentation. All right, let me see. All right, is it showing good?
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, this campaign is a pre-filing season task tax step. And in this slide, you have there the Taxpayer Advocate website if you want to look at our information. To start today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the most important thing when you're filing your taxes. You wanted to find a good tax return preparer, and you also want to get some free help if available. We have some resources in this slide, and we have the free help, and this is for the IRS volunteer income tax assistant, and we also have the tax counseling for the elderly available. And this is not available for everybody, but for those with the VITA site is for income of 67,000 or below. It can be used also by persons with disabilities and those that are not with English speaking limited availability. So those could visit the VITA sites, and the tax counseling for the elderly is for those 60 and over. And it's most likely for those that have retirement income, for seniors with pensions. We have some links here on the slide, what to bring. And we also have a locator tool that you can use to find the most nearest place using your zip code. What to bring? We have available a publication, which is like 3676B, and is available also in Spanish, and explain what things to bring to the office, to the VITA sites, and what to expect. It also gives a little more also information about, what kind of returns they prepare. We also have the free file. And the free file is a list of practitioners and software companies that offer in partnership with the IRS return preparation. And it's also, there is a limit also on the income. The AGI must be 73,000 or less. There are two ways of utilizing this site. They have the availability to provide, in-face assistant, in-person assistant, but also they have this software where they ask you, they prompt you a question, they'll answer, and then they'll help you prepare your tax returns for free. And if you don't qualify because of your income, then you can utilize they have like fillable forms that you can use, and it help you with the publications, the instructions, but you have to have a little bit of understanding on how to prepare tax returns to use it. One thing that the free file also provide is if you want to complete an extension of time to file, you can do it electronically. You don't have to have the 73,000. You could have income above that and still be able to use that to file the extension. This year, because we have some natural disaster in some areas that will be filing an extension of time to file, you wanted to also look in the IRS.gov and which locations, because you may not be required to do it. So I encourage you, if you are in those areas, visit irs.gov so they can see if you need to file an extension or not. We also have the direct file, but I'm going to talk a little further in the presentation about that. So I'm going to skip it for now. We have also a directory of federal tax return preparers with credentials and select qualifications. So if you cannot use any of this available free options, you can also do your own research. But the IRS have a list of credentials and preparers that have credential and qualifications. It is very important that you select somebody that is qualified. They have different qualifications depending on how complex the tax return is. So it's always good. It's a good list if you want to go and check. In addition to information available on the IRS.gov, we also have information available in the Taxpayer Advocate Service. We have information there on their filing returns and also choosing a tax return preparer. But we're going to talk a little bit about that in the next slide. So it is very important that you select somebody with good credentials, because there are a lot of people that are going to prepare returns and they're interested in committing fraud and taking away some of your personal information. So that's why it's so important to find a trusted tax professional. So often, some of the things that you wanted to look for is some of them often or encourage people to file false tax returns and steal valuable personal information. The IRS have a term for them, which is the ghost preparers. And they often prey on seniors in underserved community. There are also shady tax preparers that can also be involved in stealing taxpayer identity. So that's why it's so important. In the next slide, I'm going to give you also some tips and warning sign. You wanted to look at people, they're asking you for cash-only payment without providing you any sort of type of receipt. Sometimes they invent false income to try to get their clients to get more credits. Could be claim fake deductions to boost the size of the refund. They refuse to sign, or they can come and say, well, how about you sign this blank return and leave it here. I will prepare it later, and then I will call you when it's ready. They could charge a fee based on the size of the refund, and sometimes they will offer direct deposit the refund into their bank account, and they will offer to give you, your refund later on. So those are some of the things that you have to look and making sure that you're selecting the right preparer. In the next slide, again, we are going to touch a little bit on the IRS direct file. It was started last year, and it's simple, it's easy, and it's free. One of the things that is available also in English and Spanish, and it could take you like approximately 30 minutes to use. So unfortunately, we don't have it available yet for the state of Delaware, but if you live in the tri-state area, or you have any friends or family that can live, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, maybe in Maryland, they might be able to use it. But there are actually 24 participant states for 2025. So you can utilize this QR code or go to direct file at irs.gov and get more information on it. But you have to have 79,000 of adjusted gross income to be able to utilize it. And sometimes it could be some of the most simple returns. Right now, wages, could be pensions, unemployment income. You can still utilize Schedule A. So, but and claim some of the credits like the child tax credit, dependent care credit, earned income tax credit. Other credits like perhaps more advanced may not be available. So I encourage you to go and verify the IRS. I have last year a goal of 100,000 of people using it, and we exceeded the goal with 140,000 taxpayers that utilize the site. So this is incredible, and there was a lot of money that was saved in tax preparation fee last year. So as you know, we have been encouraging taxpayers to utilize the e-file option because it's faster, more accurate, and they can prevent any delays on your refund. If everything goes as planned, you generally have your refund quickly. And if it's You can also use the direct deposit, which is also something that is really I encourage everybody to use it. One of the things with the direct deposit is that you have to just make sure that if you're utilizing that you're using your bank account. Um, do not use any friend's bank's account or anything. And we also have available the direct pay. Direct pay is for those that they're not expecting a refund and is a free. You don't have to pay any charge for that. And they utilize the debit to your bank account, savings, or checking account. Reporting the income. So this is one of the things that causes, I would say, most of the issues that we see in Taxpayer Advocate Service and IRS overall, because a lot of the times people are so eager to file the tax return, they just go ahead and utilize their pay stubs, the last year end pay stub, and most of the time the information in the statement may not be accurate. So it is important to always utilize the W-2, wait for it. If you receive another type of income, including digital assets, you wanted to make sure that you include that income, for 1099K. Sometimes if you receive credit interest on your refund, the IRS might send you a 1099 int. You want to also include those. Make sure that if you receive unemployment or other government payments, sometimes they don't send the forms to you. They have until January 31st, employers and payers, to submit these forms and mail it to the employees. But if some of these government entities, they utilize a repository online, and you will have to go and download the forms. So be mindful of that. Not necessarily will come on the mail. And one of the most important things and why we have to be mindful of using the right form is because the IRS have a department, the IRS Integrity and Verification Operations, and they have some information. They compare the income and withholding that was reported to the IRS from different employers or payers with the information that you include in your tax return. And if it's not a match, they will hold the refund until we can manually verify that, because they have to ensure that before any refund go out, that is accurate, that it is not a fraudulent refund or identity theft. So, and the problem with this is because it does require manual verification, that means that it will be assigned to an employee, and the employee will have to contact the payer or the employer. Sometimes they're not responding right away. So, and that process could take a long, long time. So it's critical to make sure that your information match. One of the things that we're encouraging this year is that if you're not really sure that you receive all the W-2 information, the W-2, 1099, you can contact the IRS by phone around March 1st and verify if they have the information by calling the 1-800-829-1040. But as you know, the lines sometimes are really busy during this time. So the other option that you have, if you wanted to verify and double check that your income is correct, you can create an online account in irs.gov. But to create an online account, you also have to create an authentication through ID me verification first. So it's a little, sometimes it could be a little complex for some, but I think it's one of the best thing to already create this portal so that you can always have some kind of information available for you online. So you can get transcript of W-2, 1099s, and this is for the wage and income verification, but you can also get transcript of your account after the return has been filed, and you can see copy of the transactions on your account and refund payments, etc. But this, for the purpose of this publication, for this presentation, we only have the wage and income. So if you create the online account and you wanted to retrieve your wage and income transcript, this is going to look a little bit different than your actual W-2 or 1099, but it will contain the same kind of information. As you can see, the title is going to say Form W-2 wage and income tax statement. It's going to show, the employer information, your information as the employee, submission type, whether it's original, amended, the wages, the federal income tax withheld, Social Security, etc. And this is kind of like how it look when you pull the transcript. If you have any other of these contributions to health saving account, deferrals, it will, for 401k, it will also include that information on the transcript for you. But it's very important, as much as we wanted to encourage technology and, be aware and mindful of the different tools that we have in IRS.gov, we want to also to make you aware that there are going to be people that are going to try to target individuals and try to pose a helpful third parties to offer to create the IRS online account for you. We do not encourage that you participate in that, because what they're looking for is to take your information, your Social Security, your individual taxpayer identification number, photo identification, and they might sell that information to others to try to file fraudulent returns, and sometimes even to get credit or loans with your information. So if you are going to do this, you wanted to do this on your own or with a trustful, family member, if you don't know how to do it, with somebody that, that can help you in your family. Then we encourage to double check that your information is correct. And this is for you, your spouse, or your dependent. Very important, because sometimes that causes delay, that could cause returns to be allocated under the wrong Social Security and create also problems with other taxpayers as well. So make sure that you double check your Social Security number, your dependents, your date of birth, your address, and most importantly, your bank account. If you are going to have direct deposit, you don't want to have that. You double check that, because if your refund is deposited in the wrong bank account, that could cause some issues, because the IRS might not get the money back, and then they will not be able to reimburse you if you use the wrong bank account. You wanted to check for your credits and deductions that you may be entitled to. In the next page, I have here a link where it take you to the credit and deductions for individuals on irs.gov. Very important that you look at that. There are a lot of IRS interactive tools, tax tools, that will ask you questions to determine whether you qualify for the credits or perhaps for deductions. So I encourage you to go in there and make sure that you qualify. I'm not going to touch on all the credits, but I wanted to touch on some that we see more frequently. And, one of them is the fuel tax credit claim. Sometimes we have seen a lot of scams and people that are trying to promote this credit. And a lot of taxpayers that have filed the tax return utilizing this Form 4136, credit for federal tax paid on fuels. And this fuel tax credit is meant for off-highway business and farming use, and as such, is not available to most taxpayers. So make sure that you look your tax return. Make sure if you see that, ask questions to your tax return preparer. Another thing that we have seen this year, is that there's a lot of fake charities exploding taxpayer generosity. As we know, we have a lot of incidents that happen, disaster, tragic events in North Carolina and California, etc. So you wanted to help others, but make sure that if you're doing that, that you are, first of all, don't give in to pressure. If people are calling and asking you if you want to donate and stuff and then pressure you, that is not a good sign. Exercise caution when you're making a donation payments. I would say do not utilize any wire transfers or anything like that. Utilize either a check or maybe a credit card. Avoid sharing too much information about, your personal social security information, address, and things like that. And always verify that this charity place is legitimate. The IRS has a repository of all the tax exempt organizations in the IRS.gov. There's a tool there where you can go and look for the name of the organization and make sure that that's a legitimate organization to receive donation. And as you know, if you are donating and you put this information on your tax return, it have to be to a legitimate charity place. So make sure that you do go into the IRS.gov and check that that's a legitimate place to donate. Another credit that it's one of the credits that we see the most people or taxpayers claiming, and also with errors as well. So is the earned income tax credit, and this credit help families with low to moderate income get a tax break that is so needed with the economy sometimes. And we wanted to make sure that you understand that if you just because you qualify 1 year doesn't mean necessarily that you qualify the next, and the amounts also vary from year to year. So you wanted to go to the EITC assistant tool. And then it will ask you a few questions and your income and things like that, and it will help you understand whether you qualify for this credit or not. One of the things that's more important is that you have to have a social security number for yourself, your spouse, and the qualifying children. And if you, for example, have a baby, you want to have that social security the number before the due date, including extensions. Otherwise, you may not be able to claim the credit. Some of the filing status, married filing joint, head of household, widower, or single. In order to claim this credit, obviously the only one that will not qualify you for the credit is the married filing separately. You also must be a U.S. citizen or resident alien all year. You cannot file the Form 2555 or 2555 EC for the foreign earned income. And you must meet the rules for those without a qualifying child or those that have a qualifying child. So there are other requirements such as, residency, support, age, whether the dependent might have some income. So you wanted to make sure that you look at this tool, assistant tool. Some of the most common errors that we see are, again, somebody claiming a child that is not meeting the residency or relationship requirement. So it have to be a blood relationship. The residency, the dependent must live with the parent or the person claiming the credit for more than 6 months during the year. There's some special for, qualifications when the parents, that are separated or, so that's why it's so important to utilize the tool or go to the publications to verify. We also have instances where those that are self-employed or they have a business that they're reporting the income or the expenses incorrectly. On the tax return, we have seen instances where taxpayers are filing as single or head of household when they are married, or issues with the social security numbers and the name. So again, at the end, we have here a link where you can go to the irs.gov and learn more about these errors and how to avoid them. And this is very important because there are consequences when you claim these credits incorrectly. And for example, if you receive the credit and then you later on you're audited, they're going to ask you to provide substantiation. If you cannot provide any documentation to support either the child's residency or relationship, the IRS might reverse that credit on your account and ask you to pay that with penalties and interest. And in addition to that, they could ban you for 2 years. And that means that in the next 2 years, the IRS could potentially audit you again. And also, you will have to be, have the requirement to file the Form 8862, which is like a recertification for the credit. And this could happen also for the child tax credit. So, and you will have to include that with your returns. And sometimes this is one of the issues where people have delayed during the processing because they filed their tax return. They were required to include this form and they forgot that they have to do it. So, and then, the refund may potentially be hold waiting for the information. And in addition to that, if you're banned for even more, because the IRS determined that you did commit fraud in claiming the credit, then that's a different thing. You could potentially be banned for 10 years from claiming that credit. So that's why it's so important. Look at everything. Make sure that you double check that you do qualify. Attach all the
Hello, this is Mayela. How can I help you?
yes, somebody have to mute. And then attach all required forms and schedules before you submit your returns. So make sure that you look at the lines that have entries on your tax return and make sure, because most of those lines, they will say attach a schedule X, whatever schedule is required with that. So make sure that you look at that. And one of the most important things that you have to do before, and that is if you're going to file in paper, you want to make sure that you sign your return. And if you're filing joint, you want to have also your spouse's signature on the tax return before you mail that return. Any paper, any income document that have federal tax withholding must be attached to the tax return and you're filing in paper. So if you're filing in paper, I would recommend that you always look and go and check the address. Addresses change every year. It could potentially be changed. And also, there are different addresses for when you're filing, expecting a refund, and when you're filing with a payment because you have a balance. So always double check. And again, make sure that your signature is in it. So that kind of like covers that part of what is important to be looking into your tax return. But I wanted to include also information about what happened if you, file your tax return and you claim something incorrectly or any deduction that later on you become aware that you are not entitled to. Perhaps you have a conversation with somebody and they say, oh, you claim that you're not supposed to, or you go out and IRS.gov, you double check and you see, oh, yeah, I'm not entitled. So you should file an amended return as soon as possible to remove any incorrect items that you claim. And even if you have issues with the IRS integrity and verification operations, sometimes if you file and perhaps you overstate the withholding or you make any errors, you wanted to file an amended return as soon as possible to get that corrected so that you can get your refund as soon as possible. And last said that that now you find out, okay, I was not supposed to get this credit, but the IRS refunded it. You have no issues. Very important. You want to do file them in the return because eventually the IRS sometimes look at the returns and they may start an audit on your tax return. They have 3 years to audit that return. And then what's going to happen is that you will have to pay that money back with credit, with penalties and interest. And, because the IRS had 3 years, maybe a long time had passed since, and then that will, result in higher penalties and interest. So you want to make sure that you do it as soon as you recognize that there was an error. And in some circumstances, the IRS may think that, the return was fraudulent, even if the preparer, not you, had done it. and intend to evade tax, and that could, create some other additional penalties and that you can, will have to pay. If you find out that that was a fraudulent return file, there are also you have available the form 39498 information referral that you can complete and send to the IRS. If you were unaware that a fraudulent credit or deduction were claimed on your return, or your refund was diverted to an account under the preparer's control without your knowledge, and this is like, there are two different things. If you know that your return was filed, you can send, you should amend the return. But if you filed your return, your preparer give you a copy of return, you thought that's the return that the IRS received, but then later on they change it and send something different, you don't want to file an amended return. You will file an original accurate return. And then you will complete this form 14157 for return prepared complaint and 14157A tax return prepared fraud or misconduct affidavit, whichever applies. Sometimes they both of them apply. And that's the kind of like the different when to file an amended versus when to file an original tax return. And then you will include the information, the forms. So I also wanted to include some information regarding language and accessibility information. There are a lot of information available that taxpayers are not aware. So in regards to language and accessibility. So for example, we have the interpreter services. The IRS, if you need assistance in Spanish or English, you can call the regular number, 1-800-829-1040. The Taxpayer Advocate Services also provide assistance in Spanish and English. But if you have or need assistance in a different language, we can utilize the interpreter line, and the number is 833-553-9895. And you can even utilize the services if you're meeting with an IRS agent, whether it's a revenue officer or maybe an examiner. And when you go in there, you don't have an interpreter, you can ask them that you want to utilize this during the interview. The IRS multilingual resources, there's a lot of publications, web pages, and notices that have been translated. So you wanted to go to the IRS.gov help languages. The IRS have English plus another 20 different languages that you can translate the pages and learn in your language and any tax information. We also have, you can also request a language of preference. For example, if you prefer to have Spanish on your forms and your instructions, you can request that by completing the Schedule LEP. And you can choose out of the 20 languages in there listed, and you attach that to your tax return, and then the IRS can input information on your file and try to send you any information in Spanish. This in the slide, we have the current version as of December 2022, but they were working on a updated version, so it could be a little different than the new one. But we will continue to have as a Schedule LEP. We also have some accessible IRS tax products that you can request. If you need information in Braille or large print, you can contact the number on the screen. We have also information available online and IRS.gov. But if you want to request notices also in letters, you can utilize a Form 9000 alternative media preference. You can attach that to your tax return, or you can also mail it later on to the IRS if you prefer to do that. But you can also call the tax assistant telephone number, the 1-800-829-1040 to put that order over the phone. And last but not least, we have also the IRS Alternative Media Center. If you don't see the form that you're looking for, or you wanted to know when will that become available, you can contact that number and speak with an agent, and they will be able to tell you when, if there is a near future where they will have the form available, they will be able to tell you when. And you can also utilize the resource at irs.gov. Here I just wanted to reiterate about the services that the Taxpayer Advocate have for you. Our help is free for everyone. One of the things that we have available for you is a tool that can help you determine if at this point you need assistance from our office. Most of the time you have to try to resolve, the issues directly with the IRS through the normal channels, but there are going to be situations where you cannot or not get resolution, or simply you just have financial hardship and you need to get a system right away. You can contact us. But if you're not sure, you can utilize the tool. It will ask you a few questions, and then they will tell you whether you qualify for assistance and where, and then in the website, you will also have information about your local office, the hours of service. We right now have also available, you can send requests to us to the mail, fax, email, and also we have a document upload tool in the irs.gov that you can use. And that information is available in our website, and you can see nationwide the different offices. And if you want to stay connected with the Taxpayer Advocate Service, here are the social media outlets where you can stay connected. You can subscribe to the NTA blog. We have the Tax NTA in YouTube, Facebook, and also in Twitter or X. We have that information available. We have the roadmap, the tax professionals, and again, our website also have Spanish and other languages available for you. Well, that is all I have for today. Rachmi, I give it back to you.
Wendy,
Yes.
thank you so much. And we can stop sharing now. But I am so glad you began the conversation with finding a tax professional, tax preparer who can help, and talking about the problems and challenges taxpayers end up with when they do not use a legitimate tax preparer, end up using an unscrupulous tax preparer. I also liked when you talked about e-filing and many options that are available to taxpayers. Some options are dependent on the geography, some based on the maximum adjusted gross income. But all of the services that are available, the bottom line is e-filing is better than paper filing, because when paper filed returns reach IRS, somebody manually enters all the information to double check for accuracy. There are delays. Also, talked about direct deposit, which is very important. It's better to get your refund deposited directly in your account. Thank you, Wendy, for highlighting the role that the tax filers need to do double check that the routing number, account number is correct and is yours. Because if you put in somebody else's account number, IRS refunds that money into that person's account number. IRS can't take it back from them, then you are left with some challenges. So thank you. Then you also talked about scammers. We should always be very careful about scammers. And you highlighted the false fuel tax credit scam, because that was a big one last couple of years.
Yeah.
And earned income tax credits, they are incredibly complex, but there is one myth that a single male or a single female with no dependents cannot claim earned income tax credit. That's not true. It is if you earned an income, you fall in an income category, your credit may be low and it's like a bell-shaped curve. So look to see if you qualify. We see at, just like you at TAS, we at the Low Income Tax Clinic see a lot of issues with earned income tax credits where somebody who did not qualify for it filed first, and the person who did qualify filed second, and the second one has to wait, or there is a freeze on the return until it is resolved. Relationship test and residency test. Relationship can be by blood, can be legal relationships, so adoption or guardianship would qualify. And residency test, this is where many times, particularly today's families, where kids spend a little time with one parent, a little time with the other, in a dispute, 6 months plus a day is important, and you've got to be able to document that. Thank you also for highlighting that if you are banned from earned income tax credit, your filing should include all the right forms. And lastly, thanks so much for talking about the multiple languages in which IRS can assist a taxpayer. So, all in all, Wendy, yes, we must be patient when we are ready to file our return. Make sure we have all documentation and do create that account with using ID Me. Yes, it is challenging. I remember how long it took for me to create my account. But once you've created it, you can double check your math with I am saying this is my income. IRS reports in their wage and income transcript that my income is way more than what my real income is. That is a clear indicator that something is wrong. My identity might have been compromised, and I have to take additional steps. So wonderful, Wendy, as always. Thank you for sharing with us the importance of being prepared, planned, and thank you for annually doing this and letting us taxpayers be patient. When is has the filing date begun? Yes, 2 days ago.
Yes. Yeah, 2 days ago. And I wanted to highlight that there's, the EITC Awareness Day is going to be January 31st. So there's going to be a lot of campaigns and things online. Everybody should be looking into the news and everything if you want to get more information also about it. Or if you want to attend to one of the seminars and that they are nationwide. So.
Well, thank you. And I've recorded this presentation. Had some technology challenges. It did not go on Facebook Live, but I will post it on Facebook and our YouTube page. Thank you, Wendy, again, ever so much. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
You too.